Good evening. Officials in charge of the coronavirus testing network have apologised after increasing evidence that the system is struggling to meet demand, with some people being asked to travel hundreds of miles to get tested. Laboratories in the UK have been described as maxed out, with 170,000 tests a day. Baroness Harding, who's head of the NHS Test and Trace in England, said she was very sorry for the situation, but that the vast majority could still get appointments in their own region. Earlier this evening, the UK government said that from tomorrow, no one would have to travel more than 75 miles for a test. Our health editor, Hugh Pym, has the latest.
Test results delivered in just a couple of hours using technology like this. That's what the government wants to see delivered on a large scale, making regular checks possible for millions of people. There's more funding for trials, but it's a long-term goal. Right now, there are complaints from some people about being sent long distances to get tested, including one family who requested tests at their local site at Glasgow Airport. Stephen, who didn't want to give his full name, said he was offered Belfast when he tried to book online.
Belfast wasn't exactly desirable, especially with a ferry trip. So I went back in again to try it again, and the second time it tried to send me to Portree in the Isle of Skye, which is 127 miles and a 5.5 hour round trip, 5.5 hours each way.
Stephen and his family did eventually get tests locally, though there was a long wait at the site. This lab in Glasgow analysing swabs is run by the UK government. The Test and Protect scheme is managed by NHS Scotland. A postcode search of coronavirus test booking revealed more examples, including people with symptoms in Totnes in Devon being directed to Carmarthen, nearly 200 miles away. One in Penrith advised to go to Dumfries, a trip of more than 50 miles. In London, in one instance, advised to go to a centre in Cardiff, a 3-hour drive of 150 miles, and for a Suffolk man, an even longer proposed journey.
I went through the process and it came back with availability for testing in a place on the outskirts of Blackburn, which is over 250 miles away. So I was convinced I'd got it wrong, cancelled, reprocessed, and I got exactly the same answer.
Officials say the system will now be adjusted to reduce these driving times. Ministers argue that resources have to be focused on local outbreaks, and in some other areas there may be longer waits.
The vast majority get it quickly and close to home, but when those testing centres are full, then obviously people are offered a test at the nearest place at which one is available. We've got significant demand for testing, but we've also got a very high capacity.
But official figures suggest there's more capacity at big labs than the number of tests carried out, and some experts want to know what's really happening.
There should not be a problem with people getting test results, but there is. So something's not quite right. Those figures don't seem to add up, and that's our main concern.
The government says developing saliva tests with rapid results could have a big impact on curbing the virus, but that'll take time. Right now, there are other urgent testing issues to address.
And Hugh is with me. It is a challenging time, Hugh. We've got schools returning, universities returning, people are returning to work in many areas. What is your sense of where this testing capacity is going?
Well, Hugh, it is certainly an awkward time, and it's when experts say you really need a testing system that is totally up and running and fit for purpose. Clearly, there are capacity issues. Ministers are acknowledging that. Demand has gone up very rapidly since June, but the ability to process hasn't kept up, and there's been an apology for some of the issues we've highlighted, people having to drive long distances or being offered these tests some way from home. But ministers are clear this is a small minority. They say capacity is going to be built up further with a new mega lab coming on stream soon in the East Midlands. They've got this longer term plan for mass testing involving rapid results from saliva tests, which will be much easier for people to handle. They say that'll make a big difference. Now, that's a long term goal. Right now, there clearly is an issue, and an example of the challenge that they're facing around the UK is in Scotland, where the R number, anything above 1, shows the virus is accelerating. That's gone up. The top of the range may now be 1.4, according to the First Minister. That shows just how much of a potential threat the virus still poses right around the UK.
Hugh, once again, many thanks. Hugh Pym there, our health editor.